Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Amy.
I'm John.
And welcome to our apartment on the Upper East Side.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Amy Littleson McNitt, and I run the fashion and lifestyle blog after my namesake, Amy Littleson, and we are in our Upper East Side apartment.
John McNitt, I'm a financial advisor, and just here to watch Amy, do her thing. So we lived at the shore, or the Jersey Shore on LBI for a couple months. Amy was previously in Philadelphia. I was downtown here in New York. And once the fall hit and people were starting to come back to the city, we started to look for an apartment together. And we were generally looking on the east side, Upper East Side, and we came across this beautiful spot here.
I grew up in New Jersey, pretty close to New York City actually, and for whatever reason, never wanted to live in New York, never dreamed about it, never saw myself ending up here. But after we graduated college, we went to the University of Richmond. Johnny moved here, and most students who graduate Richmond end up in New York, I would say, the majority. So all of our siblings are here and most of our best friends. When COVID hit, I resigned to work on my blog and Instagram full time, and knew that Johnny was in New York and knew that we wanted to move in together, so that kind of kicked off our process. And as soon as I visited the Upper East Side, I became infatuated with it and really fell in love with this neighborhood, and particularly our building. It was the first time I could see myself in New York City, and we've been here for 4.5 years. Our building truly feels like family, and we've been so happy in this spot. It really blows my mind how much I love New York. We're gonna stick around, hopefully long enough to be able to call ourselves New Yorkers. Welcome to our dining space. This was envisioned by our designer Adnan to kind of be like the focal point when you walk into our apartment. And then we have our love sectional, they call it, kind of dividing up the dining space from the living space, which we have really thought to be super functional and great for hosting. Here I have a setup for dinner tonight. We have a number of our favorite pieces. I actually don't have any of our flatware or china from our wedding registry here. We couldn't fit it. It's in storage at my parents' home in Maine. So this is just our everyday stuff that we love to use. And it actually works really well and draws in a lot of the navies and greens around the apartment. Funny story, I actually picked out these plates and just loved this floral pattern around them. And then a few months later, I was visiting Johnny's home in Winnetka, Illinois, and realized they have a number of bowls with this same exact pattern on it that I ended up asking Johnny's mom about, and they actually belonged to his grandma. So just by happenstance, I ended up picking out the same pattern that his grandma had used too when she was alive, which I just thought was really sweet. And I've already asked if we can have those pieces later on. And also you'll see these little place card holders were actually from our wedding. They held the table numbers on each of the tables in our wedding tent, and I've just repurposed them here to be place card holders. They're just precious little topiaries. We included a ton of topiaries in our wedding. It was very garden party-esque. So they're just a fun little detail that is a fun little conversation piece when we have people over. So this table is Magnolia Home. It was actually my parents, and they kindly gave it to us because I just was in love with the scallop detailing here. We painted it Benjamin Moore White Dove, which is our favorite shade of white. Actually, the color of the walls in our apartment were Benjamin Moore White Dove when we moved in. And I joke that that was one of the reasons I fell in love with this apartment. I just think it's the creamiest, prettiest, most classic shade of white. And then the chairs, usually these, I believe they're called like Chippendale chairs, cost like a few $100s a chair. But my mom and I found these at Pier 1 when they were going out of business. We painted them white, and then she helped me recover the cushions in this green and white Schumacher fabric. Our designer used to work for Schumacher, so it was a no-brainer to include and incorporate some of their fabrics and prints into our apartment. The citrus garden is actually the one that I picked out first and that we based our entire color palette around. And just a fun little hack is that we ordered samples of citrus garden, and they came in this like 1 by 1 foot block, and I wasn't gonna do anything with them. So my mom was like, you should just make pillows out of the samples, which is what we ended up doing, and just had her seamstress put it together with this fabric on the back, and they make the perfect little dining pillow. So this is probably one of my favorite little areas in the apartment. I am not much of a cook or a chef or a baker, but I am a cocktailer and can whip up a mean cocktail. So this bar cart is my kind of like happy place. Along the bottom, you'll see we have collected alcohol from some of our favorite places, particularly Soggy Dollar rum from Joost van Dyke in the British Virgin Islands. We have a beautiful decanter here that matches some of our blue stemless wine glasses that you'll see. And then here is my back stock of Veuve. I've visited the Veuve Clicquot champagne house in France and really am drawn to and love the story of Madame Clicquot. So it's always a good idea to have back stock of Veuve in case somebody comes over and we need to open a bottle. And up here, you'll see we're kind of getting ready to make cocktails tonight. On the left are napkins that one of my best friends gave me that are just like the prettiest shade of blue. And we have the Hotel Lobby New York candle, which is a female-founded New York-based brand I love. This picture is very fitting for a bar cart. It was the re-entrance that we did for our wedding, where I got on Johnny's shoulders with sparkling bottles of champagne and walked into the tent after my outfit change. Funny story, my parents had no idea we were planning this, and the band knew because like they were queued up to play Kygo when we came in, and it was just like such a hysterical memory from the night, and is really fitting as I'm carrying 2 bottles of Veuve here. Also, one more tidbit that I learned is that it's Veuve like love, not Veuve. So people it's always a debate. I promise you it's Veuve. And over here, we have a beautiful ice bucket, which actually all of my bridesmaids gave me for my bridal shower, that I just love. It's personalized with our last name. I'm a huge sugar fiend, and this is my favorite gummy. My mom and I always have these in some sort of capacity and are eating them. Then I've got 2 lamps here, just to give it a little bit of warmth, and then this gorgeous Slim Aarons photo, which I recently had reframed, and I will say it was a splurge to reframe it, but so worth it. I ended up going with the museum glass for this, which is like anti-glare and looks so gorgeous in real life. And the framers I use are right around the corner from me, and they do the framing for all of the art in the Chanel and Louis Vuitton stores around the world, and they frame a lot for the Met too. So they definitely knew what they were doing. It cost a pretty penny, but I will have this forever. And it's just one of our favorite slim photos of everybody just relaxing, cocktailing it up in Palm Beach, which I think is the perfect epitome of what this whole space entails. On the opposite side from the bar cart, right next to our dining table, we have our glassware cabinet. I don't know what the next space that we live in will look like, so I wasn't trying to spend a fortune on the big furniture pieces in case we have to sell them or give them away. So I found this on Amazon, and we took the leftover wallpaper from our half bath and lined the back of it, which makes it look much more custom. And then throughout, you'll find our glassware that we've collected over the years. And also, my bridal shower was Stock the Bar themed, which was such a fun idea that my mom and her best friend came up with. They hosted it, so everyone brought fun things for our bar cart or for us to host or drink with. So a lot of this, it was gifts from that fun party, and also things that I've collected. Like here, you'll see a little picture that I just picked up on a trip to Provence this past October. A lot of these things are personalized as well. These Waterford glasses say the McNitts on them. And then these little whiskey glasses entail the coordinates of the University of Richmond, where we met. And then down at the bottom, we have a cocktail maker set and this gorgeous Jonathan Adler tray. I love a lot of his pieces because they're a little eccentric and have a really fun pop of color. So you'll see I've woven in a ton of different decor items of his throughout our apartment. The design process was a challenge because we were coming from living in two separate spaces. I lived with two other girls in Philadelphia in a very hot pink, girly, Barbie-esque apartment. And Johnny lived with three other guys in the East Village, where I'm pretty sure the only decor that they had was like a rogue American flag thumbtacked on the wall, okay? And so we had to merge our styles, and we also were renting, so we couldn't do a ton of physical changes to the apartment, but had to get really creative with our designer on making the space really feel our own and merging not only all of our stuff, but just both of our personalities and likes and interests into one apartment. Luckily, we had a lot of help. So one of Johnny's former classmates from New Trier, where Johnny grew up in Winnetka, Illinois, is a designer, and he lives on the Upper East Side, and I've become good friends with him. His name is Adnan Anwar, and he really helped us curate this apartment, from the layout to finding items that reflected both of our hobbies and interests. And then he was hands-on when we moved in, truly here making sure everything was styled to perfection and like the best reflection of our relationship and our history together.
My one request when we moved in was to make sure that someone, when they walked through the front door, knew that a guy lived here. So we can walk through the various pieces later, but there are some hints here that, you know, this is a couple's apartment and a joint apartment, if you will.
I sacrificed a lot of my pink from my former all-girls apartment, okay? When Johnny would come visit me in Philadelphia, he referred to pretty much all of our decor as pink fluffies, because either something was pink or it was like white Sherpa fluffy. So you'll see I've kept a few touches of pink, but really I'm just grateful his favorite colors are navy and green.
The blue couch we're sitting on is a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
All right, so over here is something close to my heart as well, and for a few different reasons. This is a Scottie Pippen photo, and one, it's the Chicago player dunking over Patrick Ewing, which is probably one of the most famous New York Knicks players of all time. So that's kind of ironic that we've chosen to live in New York and we have that photo. But another thing is it doesn't really match the gold framing around here. You can see it's a silver frame, but we were able to get it on the wall for a reason. Credit to Adnan Anwar, actually. He overrode my mother-in-law when they were trying to hang it up in the bathroom or put it under the bed. He said Scottie Pippen is a very important person in Chicago history, and he happens to be right. So that's how that got out here. It didn't quite make it to the gallery wall, but we're happy as a consolation. Silver medal, if you will, with the silver lining here.
So once you exit our dining area, you walk right into our living space, where we have this stunning love sack sectional, which, long story short, but I wanted a white couch for this space, and our designer Adnan convinced me to go with navy. And let me tell you, it was the best decision we made because we live on this thing. Like, sometimes we're bad and we'll eat dinner on it with the coffee table. We host people here. I've had people, I take off these back cushions and turn it into a twin bed when we have guests. It has served such a purpose and been the best sectional, they call it a sectional, ever. We love it. It's super comfortable and deep and just awesome. And around it, we kind of built out this little nook, which includes our coffee table, which is like a focal point here with some of our favorite coffee table books that kind of represent the both of us. We've got New York Chic here, and then a book about Wrigley Field below. We love a game of backgammon, so we have this gorgeous board here that was gifted to us for our wedding. And then over here we have a little side table, which includes this gorgeous faux orchid, which people can never believe is fake. It's actually an Amazon find. And this is a fun little tidbit. I had these matches made for our apartment. They say Amy and Johnny's on the Upper East Side. And I had them initially made for our holiday party that we throw every year here, but now they just kind of sit out for guests to take when they're over. Our holiday party is probably our favorite thing we do in our apartment. We have like 50 to 60 of our friends come over, which is kind of crazy because the space is small. And we cover the entire floor with like cheap white Amazon rugs because things get crazy, okay? Like as soon as we whip out the shot ski, it's all bets are off and stuff is spilled and it's like, we have a bartender come. It's so fun. Usually Johnny and I do an outfit change where we dress up as Mr. and Mrs. Claus mid-party. So that in itself is a whole affair, and we had these matches there this year for that. And now I've just kept the excess ones here in this gorgeous crystal bowl that I thrifted. So this rug is from Rugs USA. It's super soft. It's almost like walking on a sweater. And we had a light colored jute rug here initially when we moved in, but actually when we came back from our honeymoon, we came back to a flood in our apartment that happened while we were away. Luckily our apartment management took care of it and came in here and cleaned everything up, but unfortunately our rug was ruined, and it's a huge space that it covers, so we had to get a new one and opted for this one that we've been really happy with. It doesn't shed. I get a lot of questions about that. It doesn't shed. It's held up really well. We Scotch guarded it, so if things spill, we've been able to get stains out really easily, and it's served a really great purpose in here. So here we have our media console, which I joke we can never move out of this apartment because of how perfectly this console fits in between our air conditioner and heating here, and then the end of this windowsill. It just looks like it was made for this space. And this coordinates with a number of furniture pieces in my office area too, which you'll see. And then up above, we installed this curtain rod because there wasn't anything here, and it was a tricky scenario because the ceiling, I believe, is like cement. So we really drilled holes in the cement ceiling to put up these curtains, but I just think a room doesn't look fully put together without curtains. So it was something I'm really glad that we did, and hopefully the next tenants of this apartment keep them because it was so much work and so expensive, but worth it. So here's Johnny's putter. He loves to have this out when we have friends over or just at the end of the day to mindlessly putt. It's such a good find. I got it on Amazon. It's called the Perfect Practice mat. And I'm just really grateful that it's this attractive shade of green because it coordinates with my Schumacher throw pillows, which was, of course, a priority. Speaking of the pillows, this is the Citrus Garden print that we also have on a few of our dining chairs. And this print was the inspiration for the painting that's behind my desk, which is how we kind of incorporated the decor and design of my office area into the living room, so it all really flows and ties in nicely together. But I just love how happy this is with the lime greens and turquoise and yellows, and it really just brings the space and all of the colors together in a nice way. Our favorite conversation piece of our apartment, and probably what I get the most questions about, is our gallery wall. And Adnan and I worked in tandem on this to really bring together all of Johnny and my's favorite locations, trips, hobbies, interests into one gallery wall. Each piece has a memory or a trip tied to it, which makes it really special. And it's a combination of photos, like here you can see a gray Malin, photos I've taken. I took this shot of Long Beach Island, which is where my family has a beach house, vintage images and vintage postcards. There's sports tickets from Johnny's favorite teams and tournaments, games that he's been to. We also have a lot that reflects back to our wedding. This is the country club where we had our rehearsal dinner. This is a painting of where we met at the University of Richmond. Everything kind of tells a story here and makes it a very happy us wall. This might look kind of odd at first glance because it's a photo of a really dirty bottle of bourbon, but the backstory is that there's this old wives' tale that if you buy a bottle of bourbon and bury it on the site of your wedding venue a month prior to getting married, then you're guaranteed to have beautiful weather on your wedding day, and like, who doesn't want that? So my mother and my mother-in-law bought this Four Roses bottle of bourbon and ended up like sneaking onto our wedding venue property, burying it a month out from the wedding. And I remember like the week of the wedding, we were supposed to get a cold front in Florida, and it was supposed to rain. So I was freaking out, like ordering pashminas in bulk for our wedding guests, okay? And not even looking at the weather then as it got closer. And the day of our wedding, it was so sunny and warm and so like the perfect Florida day. And because we had this bottle of bourbon buried, the skies were pink, which also was perfect because our wedding dress code was pink and courage, so all of our guests were wearing pink, but our sky was pink, and it was like the most beautiful romantic sunset. And then we all went into the tent for dinner and dancing, and as soon as my dad started giving his toast, the skies opened up and it started downpouring, but we were all cozy inside the tent, like totally dry, and it was like the sweetest moment. And I love rain, and I think it's so romantic when it rains on your wedding day. And it was just like the coziest, most romantic time underneath the tent with the rain outside. And we dug up the bottle of bourbon, everybody took a shot, and we actually still have it in Florida, but I swear this trick works.
So on the back left corner there is the W flag, which I spoke about earlier. That's from the Cubs World Series year, and hopefully there's another W to be had, but if not, that's always memorialized on the top there. A Masters ticket here. I was able to go to the Masters in 2019. That's when Tiger Woods most recently won his latest major, so that was a great experience. Saturday was when he kind of made his big comeback, and that's called moving day at the Masters, so it was a great experience. Didn't get my phone taken away, which is great as well. Left that outside, but that's kind of the only memorialization of going to the Masters since you're not allowed to have your phone on the grounds. So good to have that there. Here is the moment the Cubs won the World Series when Chris Bryant fielded the dribbler down the third base line and threw it to first base for the final out. If you're a Cubs fan, you probably weren't confident that that was going to be completed and may have been thrown away, but here we are, and that was done. The U.S. Open at Shinnecock down here, I went right when I came to New York, the US Open was held at Shinnecock, so that was great. Tip for anyone who goes to visit Shinnecock, there is no trees on the course, so bring your sunscreen. Here, Barcelona, I was able to go to Barcelona on a semester abroad. Amy was in Prague, and I think we were in Vienna when we found these at a street market. So just a good way to remember going to Barcelona. Here we have the Kenny Chesney guitar. Amy's done work with Blue Chair Bay Rum, so Kenny Chesney happens to be my favorite country artist. I don't go to many concerts, but probably 5 of the 10 concerts I've been to in my life have been Kenny Chesney, so this is a great guitar. I can't play guitar, and it's definitely not tuned, but it's a good thing to have on the wall, just to, remember Kenny Chesney, but neither of us play musical instruments. I'm kind of I don't know if it's left brain or right brain, but whatever the music is, I'm on the other side. Yeah, we met at the University of Richmond. We met each other actually freshman year, but didn't really connect until sophomore year, second semester. So we've been together for pretty much a decade now, and which sounds like a long time.
I know.
And lived separately, as Amy said, for a few years, and then came together in New York and got married shortly thereafter.
I think we first connected when we were in a business fraternity together at the University of Richmond, Alpha Kappa Psi, and we were in the same grade too, so we just overlapped a lot. And my best friend, my big sister, my sorority, would bring me to a lot of the parties and that Johnny's fraternity threw. And so we just ran into each other a bunch. And as soon as we started dating, I knew 2 weeks in that he was the one. I said that in my wedding vows. So it was pretty seamless from there on out. We're fortunate enough that both of our parents coincidentally have homes in a town called Vero Beach, Florida. It's in between Orlando and Palm Beach. And we spend all of our holidays there with our families, and our families, specifically our parents, have become really close. So it was honestly a no-brainer once we got engaged, which happened to be in Vero Beach as well, to have our wedding there and really share such a special town and such a beautiful island with all of our wedding guests. So we decided to do it there at the rehearsal dinner and welcome party was at Johnny's Golf Club, and then the wedding ceremony was at the First Baptist Church of Vero Beach, and the reception was at the clubbing community. My parents belonged to John's Island Club. Everyone wanted to go to Florida in February, we found out. And you'll see in our apartment that a lot of the touches and design choices we made reflect our love for Florida, which makes it such a happy space for us. So welcome to my office space. This is where I spend the majority of my time working on my blog and Instagram. I have this kind of cheeky Jonathan Adler pillow here that makes fun of what I do. And it is really just like such an airy, welcoming, happy space. We switched out the light fixture. There was something bad up here before this. And I actually found this acrylic and gold one from Amazon, and it's worked out really well. And then behind my desk, we have this console here, which coordinates with the media console that's in our living area. And this just houses like files, supplies, etc. And then this is probably my favorite piece in the apartment besides the one, the painting that reflects my wedding dress. And it's actually by the same artist, Kristen Tierney, who I've become good friends with and is based in the mainline, Pennsylvania. But she just does the most stunning, abstract and like floral pieces, a lot of which is actually inspired by fashion designers. But for this one, I actually had her match the colors to the Schumacher Citrus Garden fabric that I showed you earlier. The pillows are on our couch and on our dining chairs. And she just like nailed it and hit it out of the park with this one. And then here I've got a little photo. This is like one of my favorites of Johnny and me when we got engaged in Vero Beach. Right here, I have a bookshelf that features a lot of my favorite coffee table books and photos of our friends and family. We have, oh, also my wedding invitation right here, which is just kind of fun to have on this little easel. Below, I have a picture of my girlfriends and I. My bachelorette was actually on St. Bart's, and I have a gray Malin print right opposite from here of St. Bart's. But here we are at Bagatelle one night, just like a crazy blur of sequins and glitter and champagne. Here we keep all of our matchbooks that we've collected at different restaurants and weddings and things over the years. I also have a number of Lily Pulitzer books. You'll see Lily here, the Lily 5x5, Essentially Lily, because I worked there for 3 years after I graduated in influencer marketing on their corporate marketing team. So they're a company that's very near and dear to my heart and that are still very representative in the spaces I live and work. So this chair is another Amazon find that's so comfortable, and I sit here almost all day. So it was important for me to have a big comfy chair, and it's the pop of pink I wanted in this office space. Then we have this acrylic table from CB2, which serves as my desk and is kind of impractical because it's obviously transparent and has no drawers, but I make up for it in the console behind my desk and also these drawers over here, which are actually nightstands, but we use as additional storage for like gift wrapping supplies and my stationery, and obviously some more coffee table books here that reflect some of my favorite things. I am a Swiftie through and through, so of course I have the new Eras Tour book here. So I love this acrylic table because you can see through to the rug, and I think it just really opens up the space. It was also Adnan's idea to put it in the middle of the room, which I love because it gives it that little designer touch that makes it a little bit more elevated than if I were to put the desk up against a wall, which is to be expected, but this is a little unexpected, which I appreciate. You'll see my sister, who lives downtown, has this same rug, but bigger in her living room. A lot of our style overlaps in fun ways, and that's one of the more obvious ones that I love that we share the same rug. It's such a good neutral. Jacqueline and I have very similar styles because our biggest influence is our mom, who I would describe decorates with traditional elements with a little bit of a twist. She is famous, honestly, for curating such cozy, warm, inviting homes that are really colorful and homey and special. She just has a knack for that, my mom, that we have been so fortunate to learn from over the years and just adapt and pick up on along the way. She's taught us literally everything from how to find the best items at Home Goods to how to organize and coordinate a plate wall to, doing flower arrangements and all of that. So you'll see similarities there with my sister and me and how we decorate because it's largely influenced by our mother. So right when you walk in, we have a little entryway here with a table that's kind of like a catch-all for our keys, and usually Johnny's swim goggles and swim cap are on this, but I took them away for your viewing pleasure today. And then over here we have this sign, which is one of my favorites. It says, "There are so many beautiful reasons to be happy." And it's such like a sweet reminder as you're exiting or entering our apartment. And we have one of my favorite photos of the two of us on a birthday I had a few years ago. Right off the entryway is our half bath or powder room. And this is actually Paris themed. I try to make it a point to go to Paris every year, so I've just collected a few things along the way. We actually wallpapered this. Long story short, I thought this was peel and stick wallpaper, but actually only the sample square was peel and stick. And when this arrived, the full rolls of it, I realized that it's actually real wallpaper. So yes, we actually wallpapered for real our half bath. So I don't even want to talk about what that's going to look like when we have to move out of this rental. But for now, it's beautiful. We love it in here. We have this photo or painting of the Ritz Paris, which is my favorite hotel. And then directly across from the mirror is this little cane shelf. So it's actually a really good home goods find. And there are just a few little pieces on here that make me happy. A photo of Johnny and me when I first visited his hometown in Chicago, a candle and a tissue box, just a few things like that. So here we have this buffet at console table, which I found via Bed Bath & Beyond, and the navy perfectly coordinates with our Love Sack sectional. It also has these knobs, which I switched out. These were an Amazon find, and I just think the gold makes them look so much more elevated and sophisticated. Here we have this set up for dinner. Since our apartment is all clean today for this tour, I'm having friends over for dinner later, and we're gonna do a Parmesan crusted chicken from my favorite market up here, Butterfield Market. So here I have two candles that are strawberry too to coordinate with the salad. I love a good theme. And we have some Amy and Johnny napkins, which are left over from our rehearsal dinner, and just bring in that little pop of pink that I'm always fighting to sneak into our apartment. Then here we have a gorgeous plate wall of a few different Aquazzura plates that I found at Bloomingdale's in the city, and white cabbage plates. My sister and I actually put this together and we eyeballed the entire thing. You don't even want to know how many nail holes are behind these, but it looks beautiful, and we ended up just buying these plate stickers on Amazon, which my mom told us about. She is famous for plate walls and has had like gorgeous plate walls in all of our homes growing up. And they do a really good job of making sure your plates stay on the wall and look gorgeous. Since we have so many framed photos and arts throughout the apartment, I wanted something a little bit different here, which is why I decided to go with plates. And I really love how it turned out. Here is our like catch-all bulletin board where we keep a number of save the dates, wedding invitations, our favorite thank you notes, or just little mementos that we've collected over the years. And it's such a joyful spot that I love walking past because we're always reminded of really fun celebrations and little notes from our friends and family.
Our honeymoon was in the Maldives and Dubai. Dubai because, you know, we had to connect somewhere for the Maldives, but it ended up being a great city to visit. Now it's, you know, more and more people you see are going out there to visit, and they're developing as far as the eye can see. So really a lot to see there. And then the Maldives, we really wanted a beach vacation where we could kind of relax because the wedding weekend was a lot of socialization and lack of sleep. So It was great to get as far away as possible. There was about 24 hours of flying time to get there. But I'm also a big fan of underwater sports like scuba diving and snorkeling. And Amy was followed along scuba diving once with me, but there really isn't much to do other than go underwater there, which was totally fine with me. And then we just got a lot of relaxing and eating good food and time together.
My favorite piece in the apartment, well, first of all, it's so hard to choose. Pretty much everything in here has significance or meaning to us, but my mom commissioned a painting by my favorite artist, Kristen Tierney, of the texture of my wedding dress. And you'll see it's right next to my closet, and it's just like the most simple but intricate piece that reflects my favorite thing I've ever worn, my wedding dress, and that weekend, which was so special to us. You wouldn't even know what it was at first glance, which makes it even more impactful once you understand. And it's just like the most elegant, stunning piece and means so much to me. So now we're gonna head into our primary bath, my closet, and our bedroom area. It's nice that this is closed off, especially when we have guests over, because we can kind of like throw everything in here and like pretend it doesn't exist. But right in here, We have our primary bath, my closet, and then the bedroom on the other side. On the door here, we have a very large jewelry hanger, which houses a lot of my statement jewelry. And then this is the painting that I was talking about earlier that Kristen Tierney did, that my mom commissioned her to do of my wedding dress print. My mom actually sent her a piece of fabric for my wedding dress that we had left over from it being altered. And Kristen did that based off of this. So it's a perfect replica of the dress and the print, and has this gorgeous 3D texture to it. So here is what I call my little jewel box oasis of a closet. It is quite literally filled to the brim with shoes, clothing, accessories. I have all of my clothing in here. I don't do any like seasonal changes except for like a few Christmas things. So it had to be really functional. I use every single square inch of this closet, okay? And there's even some artwork in here. You'll see I have a photo of Barbie at a vanity up top, which I just adore. And lots of just like accessories, shoes. Sometimes I come in here with a glass of wine, okay? And it's just like so happy and so me and very, very girly. So I have a number of really fun, eccentric items and accessories in here. One, for example, is this bag that I was just charging actually this morning, which is a really fun wedding clutch because it actually lights up in multiple different colors. You should see me on the dance floor with this. Like, okay, that is a good time. And also over here, like this purse is a seashell flask, which has been with me to St. Bart's, Saint-Tropez, like you name it, and has seen a lot of stuff, okay? And I have just a number of like bags over here. Our suitcases are stored here, my pants, and then like sweat sets. And then I hang most of my things here, and I'm very color oriented. You could probably pick up on that by now, but I have this all color coordinated, so it's really easy for me to find something. And then here, this is one of my favorite photos ever. It's a picture of Johnny and me on our wedding day with all of our wedding guests in front of the church where we got married, which you guessed it, was pink too. And I just love the joy that's in this photo, and it always makes me smile when I catch a glimpse of it when I'm grabbing something from my closet. So I started my blog on a whim back when I was a freshman in college in 2013. I had grown up very entrepreneurial and creative, always starting little side businesses and also doing a lot of creative writing and really having a passion for getting dressed up and accessorizing ever since I was a little girl. And so it just was a very natural transition to start my own website and start writing and sharing photography and my style on it. But this was back before I even knew that you could monetize it. I had no idea. And a few months after starting it, I discovered that I could actually make money from it through affiliate links and collaborating with various brands. And that really just was a major aha moment for me and pretty much changed the whole trajectory of my life from there on out. I decided to create my own major at Richmond called Integrated Marketing and Communications. And from there, I studied the business side of blogging and then went on to work in influencer marketing for a resort wear brand after that, and where I continued my education about the influencer industry and how that all works. And this whole time I continued writing on my blog and building up my Instagram, and it got to the point where in February of 2020, actually right before COVID hit, I decided to resign and go full-time doing this and really make a leap of faith, and with Johnny's support, and it turned out even better than my wildest dreams. I'm so grateful for my job. I wake up every day excited to do it and really just love to engage with my followers and my readers. And I don't know how many people can say that they're truly living out their dream job. So it's been really fun to build an apartment that's a reflection of my blog and my style and everything, and get to share it with everyone. If you're a Reese Witherspoon fan, you probably recognize this quote. It's from Sweet Home Alabama, which is my favorite movie of all time. It says, "So I can kiss you anytime I want." And I think that was just like a sweet addition to this bedroom. It's actually probably the first thing I bought for our apartment months and months before we moved in. Now we're in our bedroom, which really is like the most calming space in our apartment. Adnan and I tried to pull in lots of soft and like coastal blues and warm natural elements. You'll see a lot of rattan and cane in here, which I think just makes it feel almost like a coastal oasis, which is exactly what we were going for in our bedroom. We both love the beach and being by the water, and this kind of evokes those calming feelings, even though we're in Manhattan. So Johnny and I have these matching nightstands from Home Goods, painted Benjamin Moore White Dove. We love the added storage these have. You'll see every piece of furniture in our apartment, besides my desk, has drawers so that it's used to the max, because storage is like so hard to come by in a New York City apartment. This art we love. It's by Urban Garden Designs, and we found really inexpensive frames. Actually, Adnan did from Walmart. So we framed these ourselves. It kind of gives me like a Game of Thrones vibe here with like this bird that kind of looks like a dragon. We loved that series, so this just is kind of a funny way to remark back to that.
So this is the hat wall. I'm not a big hat guy, but I've collected hats over the years from significant experiences. Starting here with the Masters, my uncle got that for me, and that was kind of my foray into the Masters world, and looking forward to that every April. And then eventually being able to go in 2019 was kind of a dream come true. The Virgin Islands here, I love the Caribbean. I'll admit that I haven't been to a ton of places yet, so a lot of my gear is actually from Amy, who's the world traveler of the family. And then a lot of hats are just, Cubs here. I like wearing that around New York because you can always find a Cubs fan somewhere. And then a lot of it are just golf related, because you need to have a kind of rotation when you're playing golf. So I've collected a lot more hats than I actually wear, but these are just a few that mean the most to me.
We built the bed coordination around this headboard from Cooley Home, which is fun because they have lots of customized fabric options. We went with this kind of like geo square print. It almost looks like a gingham. And what's really remarkable about this headboard is that it comes in one piece as a piece of foam that expands when you open it, and was very easy to set up. Then from there, all of our bedding is from the company store. It's a sateen fabric, which I've found to be closest to the Four Seasons bedding, which I'm obsessed with. Everything is by the company store, except for this lumbar pillow here is Bull and Branch, and Manny cannot be bought. He is my little manatee that I have slept with since I was little, and luckily Johnny has welcomed into our home. So over here we have our dresser. This is a Wayfair find that we actually got recently, and I love it because it's huge, and so it houses both of our t-shirts, pajamas, all of that good stuff. Then on top, I've completely hijacked this surface area, and it is almost like a getting ready spot for me. Right here, I call this like my charm bar, because I have a number of charms here for different necklaces that I can just put in and out and exchange as I want. We also have some thrifted pieces like this vintage crystal box, which houses my charm bracelets. Just lots of like jewelry out and about so I can easily grab it. And then a few just photos that mean a lot to me. This is my mom and I when I was a baby, my Dad and me on the beach growing up. And then over here we have a photo of Johnny and me on our wedding day. And then this quote, which I work with a Christian life coach who I adore, and she gifted me this when we were getting married, just to help me like deal with the stress of planning a wedding. And it's such a sweet reminder that at the end of the day, it's about our marriage and all the years after a wedding.
So this is the second best office in the apartment, and there's only 2 rooms in our apartment, so you can do the math there. This is my desk when I work from home. This is where I'm working. It's great. You view out the window here, get a lot of natural light, even though we're north facing, but you'll see, you can compare and contrast and decide for yourself who has the best office when you see Amy's office, but it's a great spot to work, and a lot of memories from COVID here because I spent a lot of time at this desk. So the photos, that's from Richmond. My sister framed that for me a long time ago, and I've kept it ever since. That was from Richmond. Our whole family went to Richmond, so that's a good memory. And here was one of my best friend's weddings, you know, later in the night, and I guess that's a picture of me dancing, so. And then the desk, actually, funny story, it came from IKEA, so it came in 7 million pieces. And I remember during COVID spending a full day putting it together, but you know, it was worth it because it's got a lot of storage, and it's been a fixture in our apartment ever since. So it was worth it putting together, and putting together with my own hands gives it its own significance.
So now we're entering our primary bath here, which reflects those same like soft coastal blues that you see in our bedroom. We have all Wheezy towels and the shower curtain, and I love a big monogram, so we've got that going on here. Just over here I have some easy to grab toiletry items, again our gorgeous Wheezy towels, and just a little catch-all tray here from Mark and Graham. And then these are the chicest toothbrushes I've ever seen. They're from a company called Trask and are also like really soft, great bristles. Like, I don't know why I'm going on and on about this toothbrush, but it's amazing. Home to us is actually synonymous with friends and family. We have worked so hard to curate this apartment to be the most welcoming, opening, inviting space for our friends and family. Like we mentioned, all of our siblings live in New York City, and most of our best friends do too. And this apartment just kind of welcomes people to stop by on a whim, have a 3 p.m. happy hour, come by to watch the Masters or the Super Bowl. We've hosted dinner parties that have gone way past our bedtimes and have had so many laughs and really meaningful times here with our friends and family. And I think that's been the most special part of this space and why we're so attached to it.
And I'll take the flip side too. There's a warm and welcoming aspect to this home, and much due to your credit, Amy, where, you know, New York City is a crazy place, especially for someone like me coming from the Midwest. So coming home to a place like this is always that escape from the big city.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.